I get to drop off my kids every day at school. I get to pick my kids up every day at school. I get to take Fridays off when I want to. I get to set my schedule. I get to choose who I'm working with. I have that freedom now without a doubt.
Hello, nurses and nurse coaches, my fellow healers. Welcome back to the Nurse Coach Collective podcast. I'm your host, Heather. Today, we're going to dive into how nurse coaching can be a pathway towards creating freedom. Freedom to have more time, to live with more joy and purpose, and yes, financial freedom too. To explore all of this, I am joined by one of the coolest, just most amazing human beings and nurse coaches who I know, Nurse Coach Meg Laidlaw. So Meg is a registered nurse with more than 20 years of experience in the medical world who followed her calling into holistic health and business coaching. Meg empowers women to embody healing, transformation, purpose, and joy while building aligned and soul-led lives and businesses. She is an affirmation enthusiast, a dreamer, a creative, a podcast host, and a manifesting generator who believes joy is medicine. And every woman is worthy of a bold and beautiful life. Meg, welcome.
Oh my goodness, you're making me teary-eyed already, Heather. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for having this conversation with me today.
I can attest to all of those things. I've had the privilege of working alongside you for many years, as well as getting to hang out with you in person at the Nurse Coach Conference. You have a very special energy about you that really lights up those around you. And I can only imagine is like the greatest gift for the clients that you get to work with and serve as a nurse coach. So it is my honor to have you here. You've really built like an incredible business for yourself as a nurse coach. How would you describe your practice to somebody who asks that age-old question like, so what do I actually do as a nurse coach?
It depends on who's asking, right? If somebody's asking just like, doesn't really actually care, then it's like, oh, I just support people and it's like basic. But if it's somebody who really wants to know and I can feel their energies that they're interested and like I can just be full-fledged passionate, I'm already catching myself in a limiting belief. Like, why can't I just show up all the time full-fledged passionate? So for anyone listening, yes, 3.5 years later, I still filter my response based on like the energy I'm tapping in from somebody else. And whether that's a limiting belief or not, we'll just know that that's what I do. But full-fledged, it's like I hold space for other people to uncover their inner wisdom. I really do what we teach, what you teach in the Nurse Coach Collective. Like I hold space, I ask questions, I help lead them back to their wholeness. And this is the one word on my lying piece of paper in front of me is wholeness. I think if I could extract one thing from your program and add it to my business, like the one thing that's solid in both is remembering our wholeness, that we are not broken, needing to be fixed. And I think this is a very foreign idea to most people. And so if I can gift that to every client I work with, my work is done. Like if they can walk away from a container with me feeling whole and knowing that they're not broken, I'm getting emotional, then I feel like I've done my job.
Can you give me an example of that? Like I'm filtering that through my own lens. Like what comes to your mind? Is there a certain client or a certain situation that comes up when you think about it from that angle?
Well, I have instantly a certain client comes to mind of someone I worked with, have been working with since the get-go. I think she was maybe my third or fourth client, and she is still my client today. I think we're 3 or 4 containers in, and she was raised with a lot of beliefs that she's not whole and that in fact like she's broken, she's nothing, and there's a lot of like religious things tied into that. We've really backed up and zoomed out, and she, even in her religion, even still in alignment with her faith, she now knows and feels that she is whole. And I think what it's allowed her to do is show up so much more empowered in her marriage and in her motherhood, in her body, and really every aspect of her life. So it's like, it's taken a long time to get there for her. And I don't want to tell her story too much, but her experience is not unique either. A lot of people have this. They feel broken. They feel less than. They feel like something is wrong with them and they're seeking and searching for the answer to fix them. And when you slow down and like go inward and tap in to your own answers, to your maybe your history and just healing of the inner child stuff, and take aligned actions just to like feel more whole and know your wholeness, your whole life changes. Like everything has changed for her. I really feel like that. And that's just one example that right away came to my mind.
You speak to that like this is a client that you've been working with for a really long time and you're very familiar with her journey, but you also speak to this like maybe it's something that you've had your own personal experience with, of going through that feeling of being broken or not being whole, to now knowing what it's like to live from that state of wholeness. Is that true? Does that resonate? And if so, will you share with me kind of what that has meant for you?
100%. And again, before our meeting today, I was listening to some meditations and doing some guided meditation. And one of them was, you are enough, you are enough. And still, this almost brings tears to my eyes. 3.5 years later, really being introduced to that concept that I'm enough, trying so hard to embody it. And that was something in your program, and that I carry with me in every container with every client I work with, is like, you are enough just as you are. Not like, 10 pounds lighter, not like more stricter with your diet, not, what have you. You are enough right here, right now.
So how does that change things from the client who comes in feeling, I'm broken, I'm sick, there's something wrong with me, I'm 10 pounds overweight, I have all these goals, right? I want to exercise more, I want to change my nutrition, I want to change my relationships. How does it change between the person who comes in with that mentality of here's what's wrong with me and here's what's need to be fixed, versus this alternative of wholeness that you're sharing?
Well, I think when you're whole, then you're limitless. Like, I truly feel like in this moment, you could ask me to do just about any scary thing, and I'd say, maybe I can't do it now, but it's possible. Like, I could do that. I could try. I could do anything. For instance, I meant to tell you this before we push record, but I'm doing a liver cleanse this week, and I am on day 2 and a little like jittery because all I ate is like fruits and vegetables, and like I did have some nuts, but like it feels like not enough protein for me. And I was feeling a little shaky, and I'm like, I can do anything for 45 minutes. And I love Heather. Heather loves me. This is awesome. So I feel like maybe before I would like be crippled with anxiety, and I was just like, no, you can do anything for 45 minutes. So when you return to your wholeness, when you return to I am enough, then everything else that comes your way feels possible.
The way my brain works is to translate it through the nursing lens, which is like, we see so many patients who come into the hospital and they are there because they're sick. They're there because something truly isn't functioning in the way that it's supposed to be functioning. But how does that translate into the person's overall sense of well-being? And often it translates to, there's something wrong with me that is broken, and I need someone outside of me, be it the doctors or the nurses, to write me orders, give me the solution, give me the pill, and fix me, and do the fixing unto me. But when we offer that perspective shift of, well, hold on, there can definitely be these things that are not working right now and that are not optimal and that we want to improve. And that can be true. But then as a coexisting truth, you are a completely whole person, and you are fully alive, and you are emotionally, spiritually, right? You are enough. And then we can work on all of these other things from that place. I don't know actually which lens is easier to comprehend through. If it's like in the more traditional nursing role that makes sense, or in the more traditional nurse coaching role that can make more sense. But I've seen that really play out in such an empowering way, because when you feel broken, you don't have your power. Your power is gone, whether you've given it to somebody else or you've just given it to no one. But when you come from that place of wholeness, it's like, I can do anything for 45 minutes. And suddenly, oh my goodness, okay, I can be healing this part of myself while also still knowing that like, I'm okay, I'm good, I'm enough, I'm worthy. And then aren't those some of the most like motivating mantras for a human being to have?
Well, for sure. And I just wrote down the phrase capable of healing and put on that belief of enoughness or of wholeness, then you know you're capable of healing. And that's that empowerment piece, right? For instance, my mom was just on the phone with me yesterday and talking about an ailment. Again, not my story to tell, but her ailment. And I said, I think bottom line, remember your body is so capable of healing. Like, in fact, it was designed to heal itself, right? So, like, I think this is something that I tell my kids all the time when they get the sniffles, when they, get a GI bug, it's like your body was made to heal itself. So give it time, give it water, give it nutrition and rest and movement. If, like these are the basic pillars of health, but really like the underlying belief still has to first be I'm whole, I'm enough, I'm capable of healing.
I think that also has been a very important lesson that I am learning and relearning, and a mantra that I repeat for myself as I'm preparing for birth, right? And all the fears and doubts that come up, and reminding myself, like, not only am I enough, but like trust in myself, trust in my body. Like, our bodies know how to heal. Our bodies know how to birth. Our bodies know how to take care of us when we give them all of these different nourishment and all these different things that they need. Okay, so wholeness as a pillar to, if you can have people like walk away with one thing, one point of growth. Like, how do you describe your niche at this point in terms of the type of person that you serve? Do you have a niche? Do you not have a niche?
Yeah, I love
Do you
that
hate the word niche?
I hate the word niche or niche or niche or whatever. I personally don't. I mean, 3.5 years later, I feel like I just serve humans. Do they have similarities and commonalities? Of course. I serve deeply feeling humans. I serve high achieving humans. I serve people like me, right? Like really sensitive, spiritually in tuned humans that want to increase their awareness, want to increase their self-trust, want to believe in their wholeness, right? So certainly I have similar demographics I serve, but I actually did a little overview, a high view of the people I've served in the last 3 years right before this call, just to get some numbers for you. And I won't claim a niche. I just won't do it. I don't know why I have resistance to it. And if anyone who's listening knows about human design, I am a manifesting generator, and that I think is pretty tall tale signs of a manifesting generator. We don't want to be put in a box in any way, shape, or form. We want to pivot whenever we want to pivot. We want to follow that thread of excitement. And I kind of refuse to niche down, if you will.
I also am an advocate of that. And I've been known to say, like, I hate that word. I hate the word niche or niche, not only because it's hard to figure out how to pronounce it, but because it can feel like you're putting yourself in a box. And yet I also will acknowledge the other side of things, which is that for some people, for some nurse coaches, having a very clearly defined niche is one of the most helpful things that you can have in your practice, right? If you know exactly who you're talking to, then they know that you're talking to them. And that really helps you to have a intentional way of connecting to your people, a certain type of people. But there's nothing wrong with that, right? We have nurse coaches who their whole practice revolves around individuals who are just had a heart attack, or individuals who are freshly postpartum, right? Like, and they really can define their population in those demographic sort of levels. But what I love about what you're also bringing into this here, Meg, is like those psychographics. Like, what do these people have in common in terms of who they are? How are they like me? And how does that help me relate to these people? What are like their traits beyond just the goals that they set, or the quote unquote problems that they're coming in with that they want support with? Like, you're really digging into what is the type of person that I love to work with. If my understanding is correct, as your practice has evolved, that has got you then working with more entrepreneurs in like the business coaching side of things. Okay, so tell me about that side.
Yeah, well, I think I was actually, so like I said, I just zoomed out. I have like a up to date one view of all my clients I've worked with, and I was like, where am I? So I looked at it today. I've worked with 50 people to date, one-on-one, two of which have been males. The first 20 were your average human, right? Looking for holistic health support specifically. Those are the first 20. And then the last 30, 22 have been nurse coaches and 8 have been, again, more holistic health focused clients. So that's kind of like just zoom out, look at who I've served in that way. And a lot of the quote unquote non-nurse coach humans I've served are also entrepreneurs. They own businesses. I have supported two massage therapists start their own businesses. So there is like a spot there and maybe an invitation for me to step more boldly into. I am a holistic business coach. I support people like stepping into that because it's a really freaking scary thing to be like, I'm going to work for myself. I'm going to market myself. I'm going to sell and ask for money for my service. Like those are really scary things. Yeah, I do mentor and support nurse coaches and other entrepreneurs alike. My main passion is teaching people how to love selling in a way that's like super heart-centered. And I learned that from you and Heather, or you and Peter, in my role as an onboarder. Like it was so easy for me to sell, as you know. Like I enjoyed selling the program because I believed in it wholeheartedly. And selling is really just serving.
You are unlike anybody else because, first of all, congratulations on 50 paid clients. That is freaking phenomenal at this point in your career. So for anybody out there who's like, who's going to pay for this? Are people going to actually pay money for nurse coaching? Like there are no clients. You are one human working in one-on-one situations and have had 50 paying clients, which is an absolute testament to, like you just said, yes, they do. And yes, they will. But then how does that happen and why? Well, it happens when we are doing work that truly is valuable, right? Like really are providing a valuable service. And when you know that, when you believe that, when you believe in the work that you're doing and the value that you offer to others, selling is not icky. Selling is not scary. Selling is like the most authentic, wonderful gift-giving process in the world. So I'm glad that we were able to translate that message to you and that it made sense. Help me now make that make sense to the nurses and nurse coaches who are listening. Like if one of your biggest areas of helping entrepreneurs is to learn how to sell in a different way, right? With a different mindset. How does that happen? How do you coach them to make that shift and have a different relationship with the art of sales?
Well, I think being really unattached to the outcome is important, right? Like really, truly be in it, serve the people with your whole heart. So I'm thinking my brain's going to different directions of like literally talking about being an onboarder. And I'm gonna shift that and put that over here right now. And I'm talking about working one-on-one with somebody. I always gift a free session first. And I show up so powerfully. I serve them, I hold space for them, and I really don't like grip this hope or desire for them to sign as a paid client, for them to have like groundbreaking, life-altering moments in a one session, right? I trust the process enough to know I'm holding space for this human in front of me. I'm using, again, nurse coaching skills like appreciative inquiry, deep listening, reflection. Like these are the things that help people the most in my mind. Like just giving them that. And then I know my service to work with me for 6 months, that's powerful. That'll shift your life because people don't get that kind of support in just everyday life. So I share that if I would love to work with them, I share that I would. I share what I believe is possible for their life. I mirror back to them all of the things they're dreaming of and how I truly believe they're limitless. Like they have the potential. The human potential is so vast. Of course, all of their goals are within reach. And so I share that in my, like the end of my session. And then I invite them to work with me for 6 months or for a year, depending. Well, let's be honest, I don't ever offer a year until I've worked with someone for 6 months. It's just me and my quirk there. But
You want to know what you're getting into first.
yeah. And like, no one like, yeah, committing after one date to a lifelong marriage wouldn't work for me. So committing for a year wouldn't work for me either, but 6 months, I could serve anyone for 6 months and I know I can do it powerfully. And I think that's that for me. I don't want to commit to something and then feel like it's misaligned and not show up powerfully. Again, that's just how I format things. So the invitation for any entrepreneur I'm working with is to serve powerfully and then to share what it looks like to work with you and not feel like you need to convince them, but simply offer it to them.
The word sales throws people off because we have all of these connotations with the car salesman or anybody who's trying to sell something to us. And so then when we translate that as business owners, as nurse coaches, well, now what am I trying to sell? Like, I'm trying to sell myself? And then that gets all kinds of convoluted in our minds. So I like what you're doing. You're breaking that down and you're like, well, no, you're not selling yourself. You're not selling your value or your worth. You're selling this service and you're using the word container, which for listeners, I think that's synonymous with like this coaching contract or coaching package of a certain number of sessions over a certain period of time that you have the confidence to come in knowing like, hey, if we work together for the next 6 months, I know based on the free conversation that we've just had for an hour where I've gotten to know you, I know that it's going to be life-changing for you. And therefore, putting a price tag on it doesn't feel strange. It feels like, hey, I have this gift that I'm going to offer you. It's not free. This is how much it costs. Here's why I believe in it. Do you want to come join? And then like, what a then wonderful invitation rather than something that leaves someone feeling like they're being pushed or manipulated or convinced to do something.
I just have this image because I buy expensive shoes. I do not put junky shoes on my feet because my feet are precious. And I would think like, of course, they're going to be more expensive than, something else that like, a pair of flip-flops from, no offense, Old Navy, but from Old Navy, I would never put my feet in those. It doesn't bother me that maybe my prices are different or more expensive than say a counselor. Sometimes I'll have clients be like, well, I pay my counselor $100 a session and that feels like a lot. I'm like, oh, okay. Cause my session, it would be a lot more. And, oh, well, absolutely. This is different than counseling. And that maybe I don't want to hierarchy it. Maybe that sounded like I was hierarchying it, but this to me, counseling serves a great purpose if you're like working through childhood trauma or something like that. But if you're wanting coaching, if you're wanting to go farther, if you're wanting to climb this mountain, you want to coach. And so there's value there. Like if you want the goal and you want the support getting the goal, like this is the value. This is the price. I feel unattached to it.
So disclaimer there, Meg is not equating counseling with junky shoes.
No, I realize I said that. And I'm like, well, this analogy is falling apart on me here. Thank you for clarifying that.
And you get to because you've worked with 50 paying clients who have demonstrated that to you again and again, and who have demonstrated to you that when they invest, not just financially, but the time and the energy into going through that coaching process with you, that life 6 months from now looks really different than life 6 months ago. And you see that value. And then, I think with every client comes like this confidence boost and those fears that we initially have around, our money stories or just standing in our own way as entrepreneurs. I won't say they ever go away completely. We're always hopefully checking ourselves and looking for growth, but certainly it does get easier as we build that confidence. I want to talk about the financial freedom side of things.
Yeah.
Something that you wrote, and I highlighted this line as I was preparing for our conversation. And it actually goes back to the question I asked of like who you help and what you help them with. And you said, ultimately, I care about helping people reclaim who they are, trust themselves on a soul level, and create lives that feel like freedom.
Dang, I'm such a wordsmith.
It's just so eloquent. It's so beautiful, right? To create a life that feels like freedom. And I've never heard that before. Every nurse who comes into this program does so because they want more freedom. Every client I've ever worked with, they want more freedom. And freedom means something different to everyone. So I love that you said a life that feels like freedom because it's so unique to each of us. Meg, I know that for you, freedom has been a big part of your journey, right? You want to have more freedom in your practice. You want to have more freedom as a mom, as a wife, more time with your kids. How has becoming a nurse coach and having your own practice allowed you to create a life that feels like freedom?
This is why I wanted to talk about my home health job, is because, I was promised freedom and then it was like ripped out from me. I was promised flexibility and it was ripped out from me. So then stepping into entrepreneurship is like, I am in charge of my freedom. I get to set my schedule. I get to choose who I'm working with, right? And so pivoting into entrepreneurship, money aside, it is freedom because you get to claim your time back. I get to drop off my kids every day at school. I get to pick my kids up every day at school. I get to take Fridays off when I want to. I get to volunteer for Halloween parties and Christmas parties and popcorn sale and what have you, because I want to. That's how integrated I want to be in my children's lives. And so I have that freedom now without a doubt, right? And then on top of it, I get to claim my hours worth. And I do. And what I was trying to break down for you earlier is that I started off charging $1,200 for 12 sessions in 12 weeks. And slowly, as I don't know, the first 8 people said yes to that, I realized, oh, well, now I'm cramped here and I've bottlenecked myself and I've limited myself on the financial piece. So every 6 months or so, I would increase my price. I mean, maybe I'd double it. Then I would maybe just go like a little 0.5 up. And here we are 3.5 years later, and I've quadrupled what I've started, right? And so that's freedom, financial and time freedom. And I think every time I've had to increase, or I not had to, but got to have the privilege to increase my price, it's allowed me that more time freedom too. I typically don't work with more than 8 one-on-one clients at a time because I want my time to be just immersed in my family. And I think that serves my clients really powerfully because I'm a grounded human being who prioritizes their children and their well-being and my wholeness. And then I teach them how to do the same, or I support them creating that same thing, whatever that looks like for them, whatever freedom feels like for them. I support them tapping into that and claiming that and believing it's possible for themselves.
That's something that you and I have in common, is this really strong foundational value of family. And like, our children are precious and they are only the age that they are for this singular moment in time. And it is like the ever growing and ever changing, and nothing makes you more aware of the passing of time and the need to like slow down and be present and soak it all in than having kids. At least I haven't discovered anything else that even comes close to that. And so, like you, that was a huge part of why I became a nurse coach, because I had this idea that working as a hospital nurse and only working 3 days a week, 12-hour shifts, and then this night shift job, and then I'd have all these days off and everything else free, and then realizing actually that was the opposite of freedom. That was the opposite of, it didn't give me enough time. It didn't give me enough energy. It didn't give me enough fulfillment. It didn't give me enough financial stability to have, for me, a life that felt like freedom. And so I know you have your own journey of what your like before nurse coaching life looked like, but it's really, really powerful to hear that how nurse coaching has supported you in all these ways to have more time with your family, to in the way that you want it, right? Not everybody wants to be going to Halloween parties and responsible for all of that stuff, right? But for those of us that do, it's like the greatest gift in the world. So then the question that comes up for so many nurses is like, well, that sounds awesome, right? I want more time. I want more freedom. I want to work with, only 8 clients maximum so that I have the bandwidth to give to other things. But how can I make enough money doing that, right? How can I have all this extra time and work for less hours, but still earn more? And that's where I think your story is so powerful, because despite the fact that you say, there was this initial startup period and going to a dry spell, didn't you replace your nursing income like within those first 6 months as a nurse coach?
Yeah, by the 6-month mark, I was definitely paying us. And then I would say, I think at the 9-month mark, I just made a direct deposit from my business account to my personal every 2 weeks. And I lined it up with my husband's a teacher with his check week so that we were getting paid biweekly at the same time. And I mean, that was like April of 2023, I think, that I set up that direct deposit and haven't looked back, right? And I've just slowly increased that direct deposit, in fact. And then, when we're going on a trip or we're thinking about splurging, I mean, my business bank account is usually a nice little, oh, we can give ourselves a bonus or what have you. I've got a beautiful patio set that is like my first self bonus. Just so cool to do. It's so empowering to be able to do that. Certainly, I could make even more as a nurse coach, but my priority is like, I want to work with good humans. I want to support them in the time that my kids are at school, and that I want to be in my life serving my family and pouring into my children and being deeply connected to my husband.
And that's saying a lot for you to say, like, I could be making more in this field if my priorities were different, if I wanted to give more of myself to the practice, given that, you shared with me before that you have had earning months as high as like $19,000 earned from your clients in a single month, or being able to now charge $8,000 for one client for a 6-month coaching package. I mean, those are numbers that are absolutely something to aspire to for new nurse coaches stepping into this field, and to have you say like, oh, but that's not the ceiling. That's just where I've worked my way to over these last 3 years, with a lot of limitations that I've kept on myself because I'm prioritizing what freedom means to me, which is family, which is time, which is these other pieces of flexibility.
Yeah, I think.
And then like you said, like, you're best able to serve your clients because you do that, because you're modeling for them how to honor their own definition of freedom.
Exactly. And I think I remember something you said on a team call is like, I can't let my story limit somebody. So that's why it's so important when I'm sharing my story to, like, for you to, when you see someone else's life, you don't know their priorities, you don't know their dreams, you don't know their aspirations. So comparing yours to someone else's is really like, you're only getting a piece of the picture. But what feels like freedom to me is abundance in time, is making home cooked meals, is playing cards almost every night with my family of some sort. Like, they have the Uno All Wilds game. It's riveting. They got that out yesterday. And it was just like, I love this space and time with my kids, and I won't get it back. So that's what feels like freedom to me, whoever I'm talking to in the moment. And if they're like, I want to feel like freedom, like, what does that look like to you? I think that's a good question for any of our listeners to ask themselves. What does freedom look like to me? Because a life of freedom is just, it's peace, it's love, it's joy.
Meg, I have a feeling that you and I could talk for hours and hours and hours. One, because we're both scatterbrained and we go in a million different directions with every single topic that comes up, and we're both like taking tons of notes on the next things we want to say. Two, because we haven't talked in too long, and it's very, very exciting to get to reconnect with you. And three, because I think we're actually tapping into two topics that are like most interesting for nurse coaches in this field and nurses who are thinking about entering into this field. And that is this concept of freedom, but then also this concept of finances and money story, and building out that financial freedom. So I'm super, super appreciative of the insight and the wisdom and the experience that you bring, also the energy that you bring to this conversation. These can be tough topics to untangle, and you make it fun.
Well, I feel like I've come with half my normal energy. So thanks to this liver cleanse that I'm partaking in, which is, I know I'm going to have even better energy later.
I have no doubt that another conversation at a future time to keep these topics and whatever else we come up with going is definitely going to be in the cards for us. Meg, any final thoughts or words that you want to leave our fellow nurses who are like still in those beginning phases? Maybe they're excited about becoming an entrepreneur or starting their own business, but they're like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I'm enough. I'm not feeling wholeness. I don't know if I can make money. Any final thoughts you want to leave those nurses with?
I naturally lean into affirmations right away. And I'm just going to leave some affirmations here. You are whole. You are enough. Anything is possible. You're in the process of of positive change and trust and believe in yourself. I think those are just boom, 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 like the things that rattle off in my mind. Self-trust is so important. And the only way you gain it is to try the scary thing and then prove to yourself that you survived it and that it's possible to keep going.
Thanks so much for joining me. And I can't wait to do it again.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.